Hey guys, welcome to another week of the Truckers Ministry. I hope you had a wonderful week this week. My week has been kind of interesting, but you know what? Whose isn't it, right? Especially right now with all the coronavirus crap going on. Who doesn't just have a weird time, right? Anyhow, getting on with it. We do have a couple announcements today. First and foremost, I don't know if just a reminder, I don't know if you guys remember or not, but I ended up signing my semi truck on with THC Global, which a buddy Al Houston, if you're listening to this, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for doing that. Who connected me, and you know what? I'm signing with somebody, and actually, I go out tomorrow with my first run. It's gonna be interesting. I have been over the road since I got my CDL over almost 4 years ago, and I told myself I would never do it again. But you know what? Look at me now. Anyhow, long story short, I'm going out to Kansas City, and I should be back by Wednesday. I had the option of going down to Houston afterwards, and part of me really wanted to do it because, in terms of money, I can make some decent money this week. But unfortunately, it is, the 4th of July. It is country's birthday. But, I figured just having my chance to do it by myself for the first time and just taking it easy this first week, learning the basics, learning actually how to do what I need to do might be in my best interest. Plus, I might actually drive my own truck this week. I'm driving a company truck. Why do you ask, am I driving a company truck? It's because the bank and the guy that I bought my semi truck from, for some reason, I don't know, 2 months since I bought the truck, decided, hey, we don't need to transfer the title over to Preston. We don't need to do that. We can keep it in the previous owner's name. And so if I would have driven that truck somewhere and been calling the way station, I could have gotten into some serious trouble because it's not my truck. So hopefully we get that resolved. That's actually another reason why I don't want to go out for another run this week, because I signed the paperwork. I've mailed it back to the bank. We're supposed to be getting everything resolved. Hopefully by Wednesday, I can go to the DMV, finish what I need to do, and go from there. But yeah, not very thrilled about that. And another quick announcement. Unfortunately, this is gonna be our last adjective. Wow, this is gonna be my last video on Crablike Courage. I know all good things have to come to an end, but next time we're going to be starting on Dog-like Faith. The reason why I choose that name, Dog-like Faith, is because a dog has unwavering faith towards their masters. They love you. They know you're going to always take care of them. They know you always have your back. They always have your back. They know that you always have their back. There we go. And I figured that was very appropriate for the next series. Unfortunately, we're not going to be doing it next week because it is 4th of July weekend. Sorry. So, but come next week, or come 2 weeks from now, we'll be starting that series. I don't know exactly what it's on, going to be on just yet, but I will have that announcement coming on later this week, if not next month, Sunday. But without further ado, let's dive into it. So this week we're going to be talking about, once again, David, but we're going to be looking in 2 Samuel 11 through 13. The reason why this is such an important book and such an important part of the story is because David is often described as being a man after God's own heart. He has unwavering faith. He just loves God. When people look at him, they see God, and that's honestly how God wants us all to live our lives. So when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we see God, and when we talk and when we share our faith and we interact with others, they see God through us. But yeah, David is he's the man. He is awesome. But what happened right here, though, is unfortunately David is not quite the man anymore. Starting in chapter 11 of 2 Samuel, we read that David, he's out there sleeping. He's having a hard time sleeping. Kings often have stressed out, just having issues. He's having a hard time sleeping, and he ends up going on his roof, just kind of catching some fresh air, and he sees this beautiful woman, Bathsheba, bathing on the roof. And he's like, yeah, I know, kind of just a little like, come on, David, you're a king. You can be a little less perverted than this. He's like, man, I gotta have her. Which I know, it's like, David, you already have a lot of concubines and wives. Why do you need to have her? But kings can't tell anything. But so he ends up sending his servants out to go bring her back, and he finds out she's actually married to Uriah the Hittite. Now, Uriah is actually a soldier in David's army, and he's out in the field right now, waging war and making sure that Israel is going to be around for a little while longer. And David, he's like, ooh, he's gone. She's beautiful. Well, let's get jiggy with it. So, unfortunately, David ends up sleeping with her and sends her away. He's like, yeah, that was awesome. But later on, she tells him, hey, David, guess what? I'm pregnant. And David just like, oh shit. Probably my friends, but kind of, that's probably what he said too. He's like, oh, crap. So what does he do? He says, I'm going to try to hide. He thinks I'm going to hide my sin. Now, he talks to his commander of his army, is Joab, and he's like, hey, can you bring Uriah in? Let's have him on some leave. And for those who aren't familiar with military terminology, that's just him. He gets a little break from service. He gets to have some little vacation. And David's hope was that when he comes back, he's going to sleep with his wife, and he's going to obviously do what he needs to do to get a baby. And he can hide the fact that this kid is his. Well, that doesn't go really according to plan. Uriah ends up staying with David in the palace, guarding him, saying, and David's like, why aren't you at home with your wife? Uriah tells him, I can't be here. No, my buddies, my friends, my brothers, my family, they're all out there fighting. I can't enjoy my life knowing that they're out there fighting. Unfortunately, David ends up having to come to plan B. And plan B is to kill Uriah. So he tells Joab, the leader of the army, hey, when you guys are in your next battle, put him on the front line. And for those who aren't familiar with battles like back in the day, actually up until fairly recently, if you're on the front line, you're probably not coming back. That's just a sad reality. You're not coming back. And here's the other thing. To make sure he doesn't come back, David tells Joab, pull the rest of the troops, like once you engage, pull the rest of the troops away and leave Uriah surrounded, so Uriah does end up dying. And sure enough, that happens. And Uriah is KIA. Obviously, Bathsheba is deeply upset, and that's her husband. But David ends up taking her as one of his wives, and he's like, all right, cool, cool. I covered my sin. Now, with God, as we all know, or as I hope we all know, we can't hide anything from God. We think we're being sneaky, we think we're being cool, but we can't hide anything from God. And God ends up telling the prophet Nathan, hey, I need you to go talk to David because he fudged up. And when Nathan meets up with David, Nathan tells a parable. Hey, there's these two guys who have sheep. One's a really rich guy and one's a really poor guy. A really rich guy, he ends up throwing a party, and he needs to butcher sheep to feed everybody. Now, does he go to one of his many sheep to help him out to butcher? No. He goes to his poor neighbor, and he ends up taking his poor neighbor's only possession, that's his only possession, and butchering him. And of course, when David hears about this, he's outraged. He's like, who did this? Who is doing this? Let me know who did this, and I will go tell him, and I will take care of it. Who did this? And Nathan's like, dude, that's you. You did that. And David doesn't want to hear it. He is upset, but he kind of just starts realizing, crap, I really did fudge up, didn't I? And Nathan tells him, hey, God's not happy with you, David. As a result, you're going to lose your son. Your kiddo is not going to make it. And David is just like, no. Like, God, tell God to do anything else to me. Take away my kingdom, take away my kingship. Do anything else. Just please do not take my kid. And sure enough, the day of birth comes, and everyone, he's kind of like, oh, okay, I'm kind of happy, but I'm not so sure about this. I don't know what to do. Unfortunately, the kiddo gets sick, and in a week doesn't make it. I'm actually going to read from the Bible. I'll read the chapters that talk about that. For those of you who have their Bibles, it's chapter 12, 18 through 23. Sorry guys, give me one sec. I'm being joined by a little man, and he wants to go out and live with his mom, so give me one sec. He keeps scratching at the door, Krista.
Are you just wondering what's going on?
All right, sorry about that, guys. So, like I was saying, it's 2 Samuel 18 through 23. And it came to pass on the 7th day that the child died. And the servants were afraid to tell David that the child was dead. Behold, while the child was yet alive, they spake unto him, and he would not hearken unto our voice. How will he then vex himself if we tell him the child is dead? But when David saw that the servants were whispered, David perceived that the child was dead. Therefore David said unto his servants, is the child dead? And they said, yes. Then David arose from the earth, washed and anointed himself, and changed his apparel. He came to the house of the Lord and worshipped. Then he came to his own house, and then when he inquired, he set out bread. Sorry, this is kind of hard to read, King James Version. Bear with me. And when he required, they set bread before him, and he did eat. Then said to his servants unto him, what is this thing that thou hast done? Thou didn't fast, or his servants talked to him, right? It's like, dude, what's going on? What is this thing that thou hast done? Thou didst fast and weep for the child which he was alive, but now when the child is dead, thou didn't rise and eat bread? And David replied, while the child was yet alive, I fasted and wept. For I said, who can tell whether God will be gracious to me that the child may live? But now that he is dead, wherefore should I fast? Can I bring him back? I shall go to him, but he shall not return to me. Basically, what's going on out there is the servants are saying, okay, what's going on with you, David? You know, we can understand you weeping and whatnot when the child was, we can kind of understand you doing, okay, one more time. David, what's your deal? When the child was dead, you were, or alive, you were cool. Or you were weeping, you're bawling your eyes out, you're not eating, you're really having issues. But when the child is dead, you're okay now? What's going on with that? Now, David, he's like, you know what? Me weeping, grieving, and bawling my eyes out is not going to change what happened. And unfortunately, it sucks. And it really is horrible, but nothing's going to change. It is what it is. I'm going to see my child again one day, but it's not going to be today. And so what's really cool about this is, well, the reason why this is such an important, sad, but very important chapter is because this is David just having the courage to realize that he can't change things. You know, when God's will comes, he's got to deal with it. You know, God knows best, and got to deal with it. It's also knowing that he can't change the past. And that's unfortunately something that we often struggle with today. We wish we could change the past. Oh, I wish I tried a little harder in high school, then I could have gotten a full ride to college. Oh, I wish I was a better athlete in college and I could have gone to the pros. Oh, I wish I applied myself more in the job last year so I can get the promotion. Or I wish I was a better husband to my wife so that way I can make her happy. You know, we all wish things, you know. But the fact is, you can't go back and change it. You have to have the courage to realize you can't change the past, but you can change the future. And what's cool about David right here is he doesn't blame God for what happened. In fact, he goes straight and worships God. He goes back and just praises God for everything. And that's one thing that's really hard for people to do. You know, when we feel slighted, when we feel like we were wrong, we end up having a habit of blaming others. We end up having a hard time letting go. And Lord knows, those who know me, I have no exception by any means. But having the courage just to be like, all right, this sucks. All right, God, let's just get on with our lives. Thank you for everything thank you for everything you've done. I love you. Just thank you. So that's one of the biggest things. Is, you know, David has the courage to accept the things that can't change, and then he also has the courage to keep worshiping God, which as we all should. But for someone who just lost their son or lost their kiddo, it's a really awesome to see. Another big point that this whole chapter brings up is David has the courage to admit that he was wrong. Now, I know that everyone's like, well, everyone should be able to admit they're wrong, It's actually a little harder than you give credit for. It's nobody likes to be that humiliated. I don't want to say humiliated, but that's the best term to use. Nobody wants to be humiliated. Nobody wants to be humbled. And it takes the courage to be able to be like, you know what, I was wrong. It's like, I haven't done this yet, so between us. I have a really good friend named Colin, right? Colin Kerwin. Now, he likes history, not as much as I do, but he loves history. And we had a huge debate about how much swords weigh. He said that swords weigh between 2 and 5 pounds. I said they weigh between 5 and 10 pounds. And we had a huge debate about this. And turns out, I was wrong. Swords really do only weigh a couple pounds. Now, it took me a little while I haven't quite admitted that he was right, but I had a hard time admitting that I was wrong. Because, I'm a history buff. I should know this, right? But, yeah, it's hard to admit you're wrong. It's hard to have the courage to admit you're wrong. And that's one of the biggest things that I feel like this is a good point to wrap up on with Crablike Courage. David ends up still being described as a man after God's own heart. He is such a great, powerful king, a wonderful king, that, his great grandson is actually the father of Jesus. It's Joseph, and heck, his direct lineage ends up being Jesus's parents. So how can somebody who fudged up so much and so big in his life end up being a man after God's own heart? It's because he had the courage to admit that he was wrong when he was wrong. He had the courage to accept that there's things that he can't change. He had the courage to keep worshiping God when others would have turned away from God and looked for other gods elsewhere. He had the courage to realize that he has to wait on God, which unfortunately that sucks. It's hard. He had the courage to do that. He had the courage to step up to the plate when he needed to. He may not have been ready, but he had the courage to step up to the plate. And you know what? God rewarded him mightily for it. Because right after this kiddo passed away, unfortunately, God blessed him with a son, Solomon, who was described as one of the greatest kings of Israel. So much so that he ended up actually, when God said, hey, I'll give you anything you want in the world, he asked for wisdom. And what happened with that? He ended up being probably arguably the greatest king in history. Well, then he unfortunately jumped off the bandwagon, but it's just, things suck in life. Things can be hard. They can be hard to admit that you're wrong. They can be hard to accept. When an opportunity knocks on the door, it can be hard to want to open the door and embrace it. But I want to encourage you to have the courage for the future. Have the courage to step to the plate when you need to. Have the courage to admit you're wrong. And have the courage to embrace things that unfortunately those around you won't embrace. And when you do that, when you're able to do that, God will bless you mightily. Now, like I said, unfortunately, this is going to be us wrapping up the Crablike Courage. And we won't be doing a video, like I said, this week because it's 4th of July weekend. But next week, or 2 weeks from now, we'll be jumping back into dog-like faith and going from there. This is the Trucker Ministry. This is Preston with the Trucker Ministry. Signing out.